I was taking a look at the entirety of my cube collection and I realized that I have a lot of completed series in this entire collection of puzzles. So when I look at them, I have the entire cubic series all the way up to 13x13, the 3x3x-ns, and the 4x4x-ns, and the entire Minx series. I also have the Morphix puzzles that are available on the mass market, but when I looked at my Pyraminx collection, something seemed a little bit wrong. The 2x2 Pyraminx was out of place, because you see, when you take a Pyraminx, the 4 layers of the 5th one go to the 4 layers of the 2nd one, and the 3 layers of the 3rd one makes this. This is a Pyramorphix, and this is what a proper 2x2 Pyraminx should look like. However, we all know that Pyramorphix is a 2x2 shape mod that turns like this and shapeshifts. However, the 2x2 version of the Pyraminx would just have tips that turned around the centerpiece, so I decided to make one to complete this collection. I decided to make it out of an old Mohzi Pyramorphix, which I disassembled, and a Dayan Pyraminx core for the core of the structure. So the first step that I took to doing this thing is that I would take off these caps of these pieces and use these as the pieces that will hold the core of the puzzle together. I unscrewed the corner stalks pretty easily and took those out. These would be the main part of the structure. Now the Dayan Pyraminx came with these screws, which I would have to force through these centerpieces so that it would use the structure. To do this, honestly, I just used brute force and I laid it down flat and I basically stripped the threadings inside the plastic piece. However, this actually ended up working after all. After the screw was completely through, I could push it through to the smooth part of the screw as well, and basically just push it through. The next part was kind of a little bit more difficult though. You see, this was the point where I realized that these pieces would not be able to just turn on the core. The centerpieces that I'll be using have to just be able to hold the corner pieces into place. So I show you how I am going to put this together as I demonstrate it with 2 of the centerpieces, that I will take the flat parts of the Pyramorphix and put it in between each of those centerpieces. I decided to actually use these tip things that the Dayan Pyraminx came with and put them inside the corner pieces of the Pyramorphix to give it the actual ability to move on its own. This would be done by unscrewing one of these pieces and putting it through here. However, I would soon realize later that that was not the way to go about it. At first I did realize though I would have to put a spring on it to keep separation between the core and the centerpiece and the screw head and the Dayan tip piece. So I would have to screw this back into the core, so I put it back through the piece, which took a little bit of time, and then I put it into the core after I realized that it was bungee enough. Next, I would check the distance between the centerpiece and the white pieces and make sure that it was the proper length. I realized that it was too bungee, but I already did the rest of them and I put it all together in the core shape that you see, and I was testing out the height of the pieces that they would be with the centers in them. I decided to get rid of the little nubs on this by sawing them off really easily, so I tried a littler saw at first, but that soon showed to be really bad, so I used a larger saw to remove those. After the little nubs were removed, I decided to smooth it off by just sanding it down very lightly. This would just make it turn a little bit smoother when the final product is done. And this is when I realized that the springs were too long and that I would probably have to cut them in half. So I had to disassemble the entire core again and cut these springs in about half. I used wire cutters for this, and I was really scared and nervous of doing it at first because I thought I was going to ruin the springs. After I did that, it was time to start gluing the center pieces into place. These are the flat pieces on the Pyramorphix that would go between these corner pieces. So, as anyone would do, I glued up the sides of it a little bit, put some glue on that, and just tried to put it in there as best I could and as straight of an angle as I possibly could. After I did about 2 of them, I started to realize that this could actually work out pretty well, because they stayed into place very well, and I finished up doing the rest of them, and it looked to be a pretty decent shape overall, with minimal problems with it. So this is where I had to recalculate a lot of things. When I put it on, I realized that, well, I would have to glue it, of course, so I tried gluing it on the top of these pieces and just putting it in, but that soon realized that was a very bad idea. You see, because when I finally realized I got them plugged into place, I realized that when I let go of them, they would go down a little bit, and that obviously could not happen. So I realized I would have to put a spring above the screw and between the white piece and the screw head. So I had to disassemble it yet again. So I was going to use the other half of the spring that I cut to put on the bottom and just put it above the screw. However, this is when I realized that the spring would just fall through the hole. So I had to take a large safety pin and cut off the end of it to get the little ring part to go above the screw head. This turned out to be a fantastic idea and was probably very clever of me to think of this. So I put this little ring on the top, which would then feed into the screw. So I would put that onto the screw and then put the spring between the screw head and the little safety pin piece. This turned out to be an excellent idea, and it kept it in place very well. So I reassembled those and then made up a great idea. I would glue the sides of the little white pieces on all of the sides and use the little nub cavities for my advantage. I would glue the pieces inside on the side of the little nubs. So once I put them in, it ended up just drying like that, and then they were able to turn pretty nicely. The puzzle turned out pretty well overall. However, I was a little disappointed with the little separation in the pieces, but for my first modification of all time, the puzzle turns very nice despite the spring noise, and overall I think it looks pretty decent. After cleaning it up and finally lubing it and tensioning it a little bit, I could put it proudly next to the other Pyraminxes in my collection, and it was a proper 2x2 Pyraminx. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video on my first ever mod, really, that I ever made regarding the fact that Siamese puzzles are not mods. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment what you want to see next on my channel, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Bye.